All right. Okay. So we live in HD. Um, I'm going to give everybody a few seconds to join. This is going to be a political conversation. Um, Sports. We talk sports. We also talk about other things that can improve society and or the community. Sports is one of those aspects. Create healthy hearts for kids, create an alternative to negativity in the neighborhoods. So we love sports, we talk sports, and that's what it is that we do. I'm gonna give everybody a few minutes to kind of gather themselves and come on in because this is a political conversation. Um, I talk politics. We know I talk sports. Sports and politics are the building blocks or part of a building block that can contribute to society. So in this title, I want to talk about flat tax, voting age, vocational programs for high school. And I'm going to make it all make sense from my perspective as a person who is into politics and a person who participate in his civics duties. A lot of people sometimes don't do it. A lot of people sometimes sit out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to deliver a position and a alternative way to look at things, not to suggest that I'm trying to convince anybody of anything, because this is a grown man conversation. This is not like sports. You got to be very, very guarded with your words. You got to be mature. You got to be methodical. You got to be respectful when you start talking about the political arena. You got to remove all emotion, and you got to kind of bring in some passion, and you have to bring in some sound logic within the realm of politics. So without further ado, I want to introduce some things and some concepts that are on my mind because we are coming into an approach of two positive things. The Olympics, which is sports, which I will cover as well. And we're coming into a political national voting season, 2024. We know this takes place every 4 years, and the Olympics just so happen to align with the national United States election. So those are two massive events on a world stage that is coming. Every 4 years it's happened. The Olympics, the World Games, and the national election within the United States. So this is one of these grown man talks. So get your cigars out, get your coffee out, get your water, do what it is that you do. Political situations, politics are closely aligned with sports. So the politics can affect sports. Sports can affect politics. We've seen it with Kaepernick taking the knee. We've seen it with Muhammad Ali, specifically talking about boxing, taking a stance against the government. So I want to take opportunities to journal my thoughts and place my thoughts out here for those who may listen or whatever the case may be. I know this is not necessarily directly a sports video or a boxing video from Zone 6, but this is just me put my opinion and thoughts out there as a citizen who pay taxes, and some of the stuff that I'm starting to see within these elections and some of these talking points. First off, let me start by saying this. First thing first is I am a big believer of a flat tax. I feel like that's the basis of a premise that we can build on. So for me, I feel like the flat tax can range in between 13 to 17%. I land at 15%. Okay. This flat tax allows for people to live their lives with complete transparency and a roadmap on their financial potential and their financial gain. It sets the society in a spot and in a place, state to state, within the United States, back into a good trajectory on what's to come, all the way up into your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, up into work retirement. See, what's happening is with this progressive tax system, which is cool, but it's not ideal for the way the American people and the American public live their lives. American people like to, by and large, have a understanding of a roadmap and what can be expected to the best of your ability. Okay, what can be expected down the road. Okay, so I'm going to say this, and I'm going to make this a very, very clear statement. I believe in a flat tax, anywhere from 13 to 17%. Obviously, 13% will be on the low end, 17% will be on the high end. But I line myself up and I land myself at about 15%. That way, everybody knows, starting from middle school, they could comprehend the concept of money and or work and the income tax system. You can put this in perspective from an economic position. I'm going to also tackle some of these social issues that's going down in the streets. This red pill red pill talking points, these red pill gender war type issues. I'm going to set that all straight through the realm of politics. Okay. And I'm going to give you my position on some of these social issues, racism, sexism, everything that goes along with that. But I'm going to do it with logic and reason. It's not to knock anybody. It's not to take away from anybody. It's just, this is the philosophy and the principle here. Grown man business, political conversations. Your civil liberties end where mine begin, and vice versa. There's too much impeding and crossing of the lines of people's civil liberties. There's too much taking, robbing, and impeding that happens in the social dynamics of the United States. And it's starting to get out of hand, and it's starting to be out of control. And the government seems to be not tightly knitted enough to have control over what's going on in this functioning society that we call the United States. So one thing about a flat tax, let's make this clear. The flat tax, I think, and I landed about 15%. I say a range between 13 and 17, 13 being on the low end and 17 being on the high end. Let's do a 15% flat tax. What this will do in a political space, in an economic space, it allows a young man or a young woman to project the proper career field and how much money they need to be making to be economically sound. Okay. And with that being said, you open up a lot of avenues to avoid and oppose criminality and amoral or immoral type of acts that require you to do or be involved in, because you're confused on money and you're chasing the bag. We're gonna tap in, chasing the bag. We're gonna tackle all those concepts and ideologies today. So the flat tax give you a clear, concise, and decisive path on a career path that you need to take. So for instance, you may want to be a plumber. You may want to join the military. You may want to be a police officer. You may have a business. You may be an entrepreneur. You may be an executive at a law firm or something like that. You may be a farmer. So what a flat tax do is it resolve all the issues. It reduces the need for the IRS, which not to mean that we're going to abolish the IRS and get rid of all these people and throw them to the wayside so they won't have a job or an opportunity anymore. It's just that we need to shift the positioning and the primary responsibilities of the IRS. It'll reduce the amount of paperwork. It'll reduce all the tax codes and penal codes that come along with the tax system, and it's more transparent and decisive for the American people and or public. Transparency is key within the United States. People in the United States don't like their money played with. Okay, we don't like the funny moving of the goalposts with our money and our taxes. And the progressive system tends to do that. When you progress, it's almost like every time you make this amount of money, you fall into a different set of guidelines. You fall into a different set of rules, and it feels unnatural and not reasonable and logical. So a flat tax will clear up a lot of issues and straighten out a lot of positioning for people on the economic track. That's what a flat tax will do if you're not familiar or paying attention to the politics. Politics will affect you. A lot of people don't necessarily dive into it because there's this notion of whatever, but we got to straighten this out and get some clarity on what politics is and what politics truly ain't. So you won't be blindsided and you can pass the information. When you know better, you do better. Each one teach one. So for us, the flat tax proposal, that is something that is solid and it builds a foundation. When we do that, if we, in my position, complete the flat tax, it gives me the security that government is out the way. I've serviced my country through paying my dues, paying my taxes, and I'm out here working and I'm grinding and I'm working and I'm doing what I got to do as a citizen. So now with the 15% as a proposed number, we land at 15%. That means you keep 85 cents of your netted work output for every dollar that you make. 15% goes to the government. I don't believe in a tax return. I believe in the government having full responsibility to utilize the money to improve the schools, the roads, these buildings, and the infrastructure of the United States. That's the point of taxing. Taxation without representation is a massive problem within the United States. It is a continual battle. We cannot do it like that. The progressive system is just annoying. It is not convenient for the American people, and it feels shady because we're moving the goalposts. American people who work in a system to get a skilled trade or to inherit a business or run a business want transparency, and they want to know what they're getting into with their money and their income. Okay, so far as income tax goes, for me, I believe that we should move into a flat tax system to make things more convenient through the IRS, through filing taxes, and through the transition phases of taxes. It's just a flat tax that the federal government needs to utilize and make sure that we get the proper infrastructure that we need through all these systems, whether it be high school, middle school, collegiate, medical, policing, buildings, roads, signs. It does not matter. Flat tax, 15%, government get your cut. That way, every time I get a raise, I understand that 15% is 15%. So now I can tailor my life around the proper economic number that I need so I can be a valuable citizen as a young man, a young woman, and ultimately possibly a father or in a family person, and just a productive citizen of life. That's what has to happen. That's what needs to happen. A flat tax is just better than a progressive tax system. That is what it is. Now, another thing that I noticed in the realm of politics, and this is another issue that I have because these things flow. When you do taxes on income, the earliest thing you could do taxes on, or the earliest age that you can start rendering taxes, is at the age of 16. Most people understand that you could get a job at 16, 17, and that's 2 years before you actually turn 18. We all understand that 18 is the legal age to be considered an adult. Okay? Let's pause there. 18 is the legal age in which we're considered adult. But for some reason, at 16, 17, you can work and you can pay taxes off your income. So either one or two things need to take place. Either if a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old is going to work and they're not going to be considered to be an adult, then they need to be tax-free on income. But since we all know that's not the case, the adult age and the voting age need to be lowered down to 16, We're going to pause right there because I want to give you a caveat to another alternative that's picking up steam via one of the Republican candidates, okay? Vivek, whatever, okay? What he is proposing that for some reason, after all Americans have put in blood, sweat, and tears, okay, to get the right to vote, he is now coming to suggest at the tender age of 37 years old that for some reason that we need to raise the voting age to 25 years old and or pairing it with a civics test. But first of all, to suggest something like that is insensitive, disrespectful, and it shows that you didn't learn anything from taking your civics test in your process of citizenship and getting into politics. Because for you to suggest that, or anybody suggest to raise the voting age, is in opposition to what America voting is all about. Okay, there was way too many African Americans and women and disenfranchised white voters, men and women, that have earned this right through blood, sweat, and tears and generational politics, okay, to have the voting age be raised for our lineage and our kids. There's no way in the world, okay, that I would support raising the voting age to 25 for any of my kids that I'm going to birth in the United States, because this guy thinks it's a good idea or a fair idea to put in a test to qualify to voting and or raise the age to voting. That is completely disrespectful to all of the women and men that put in work to achieve voting rights. Then to suggest that there should be some type of civics test, that's too familiar to the grandfather clause, KKK lynching people at the voting polls, a poll tax, literary test. That is too much like impeding on people's right to vote. A civics test and raising the voting age is too similar to literary tests, poll tax, grandfather clause, and the KKK intimidating black voters at the voting poll. That is too similar to that. And to have a guy come from wherever it is that he resided from to come over and to suggest that we need to implement a higher voting age in a test in combination, meaning that we're going to take away the ability to some degree for 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24-year-old American citizens to vote is ridiculous. I don't even see how he is a appropriate candidate for the American political system. I don't know what political system he's trying to implement. Maybe it is something that he grew up on that is accustomed to his culture, but it is not aligned with the American experience that has taken place through the voting system. We don't have time for that. No one's going to reasonably accept that. No one's going to take a civics test and be 25 years old and have all these exceptions that we already inherently embrace because you go to the military. Man, that is not your place to decide that from a business perspective if you've never served in the military, when we already know that the guys in the United States have to have a selective service number and register through that, and we have JROTC all within our high school systems. So someone from a different lineage should not be coming over here telling us what we need to do far as voting. That will never stand. You will never see me support, and you ain't gonna make no law that's 25 with a civics test based on what my ancestors and the people of America of past has had to go through to get to vote in the first place. You know how many black African American people have been lynched off voting and been denied the right to vote? You know how long women have been denied the right to vote? You know how many low class, middle class, poor white men were denied the right to vote? Because everybody knows the history is white men with property had the right to vote. We already know that. So for this guy to come here and suggest as a Republican candidate, okay, that is gaining traction, that we need to vote based on that ridiculous criteria of raising it to 25 and then also having to take it as test is too much like literary tests and poll tax that they implemented on black folks when they was trying to deny them political access to voting. We're not going to do that. This guy should be removed and stripped off the ticket. There's no way that this should stand. There's no way that we should even be listening to him. And I'm so disappointed in the suggestion of that and so offended by the suggestion of that. I want to run for president if he can run for president. He's 37, I'm 39. I think I can whoop him in the polls. I'm going to probably look at that and find out if he can run for president, I can run for president. Straight up and down. And I'm a real Atlanta American person that has went through things that understands. Okay? This is ridiculous. This guy should not be proposing that. But I understand it is what it is. So we're not going to propose that. That is ridiculous. Okay? Ramaswamy. Okay? I've been watching him and I've been listening to him, trying to give him a chance and look at it. But this is crazy, man. The world deserves a better politician at this point. Okay? Somebody from the grassroots, somebody from the street, somebody that's not groomed and pampered, somebody who's been through some stuff, somebody who's flawed, somebody who's been exceptional, someone who represents America in a proper way. All these identity politics to fill quotas is becoming ridiculous. Okay? And it's no logical, sound reason behind these policies that these people are proposing. It is getting out of control. So, first off, we need to talk about the money. Flat tax. We got too many people out here busting and humping and grinding for us to be doing this progressive nonsense where we could just flatten it out. Take your 15%, Uncle Sam. Buy, get out my face. Don't worry about the tax return. Just take your 15%, man, and go ahead and do what you need to do for the federal infrastructure of this nation. So that way, when I make $50,000 a year, I know it's 15%. When I make $60,000 a year, I know it's 15%. When I get to making $100K a year, I know that it's 15%. There's no need for progression. There's no need at all. Okay? So now let's talk about voting age and what actually should be happening. First of all, it should be lowered. Going back to what I was saying from the beginning. We have to make a decision here soon on what we consider to be an adult. This game of isn't he, or isn't he, or isn't she, or isn't she is getting old. We got to figure out what do we consider to be a 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, up to 25-year-old. And I understand why Ram is saying 25, because 25 years old is the average in which puberty ends. So most people try to do the 25-year-old thing because your insurance lower, you're more mature, it's about some money, it's business, because now you're fully developed as a human mentally and physically, and you're out of the puberty range. Okay? So now you're in a range of adult thinking. So they always in politics like to start with 25 as a benchmark to move forward. But the truth of the matter is the voting age should be actually lowered to 16. Here's why I'm telling you 16. Because 14 to 15, we need to get our kids, when they come in and transition out of middle school, they need to understand the importance of political voting. And they need to get those reps in so by the time they get to 25, they have a complete understanding on what it is to participate in the voting process, not just during the national election, but on the local levels and on the state levels and in the midterm levels as well. They need those reps prior to being 25. If the goal is to make a more efficient and sound voting block, because you're saying 25, you don't give a test and raise the age. You give the kids or young adults more reps so that they can participate in the voting process the proper way. So that way, when they get to being 25, they're astute in their political responsibilities, because it's ultimately going to land on them. If I'm 39 and he's 37, man, by the time we get older, the nonsense and the fallout is going to fall in the laps of the current 13 and 14-year-olds. 6-7 years from now, these are going to be the adults. 10 more years, man, I'm gonna be becoming an old man. 10 years from now, this guy Ram is going to be 47. But if there's a 17-year-old, 15, 14-year-old, 13-year-old, 10 years from now, they're going to be the workforce in their 20s. So the policies should be geared around the senior men like Ram, guiding the youth into the proper position so that they can be more efficient and effective citizens, not trying to satisfy yourself. You got to pass that rock, man. Old guys have to pass the rock. We can't keep babying these kids. There's too much is she or isn't she? Is he or isn't she? 1 minute, the kids are big and strong and we can send them through the football pipeline. They cracking heads. They world-class athletes at 16, 17, gymnasts. But then when it comes down to personal responsibility and obligations, now they're a baby again. Now they're a kid again. They commit a crime. They get into criminality. Sometimes they treat some kids like adults, depending on how they look. And sometimes they treat a kid like a kid after he shot up 100 people and all that kind of stuff because of whatever issues there are out there in society. Okay? So we got to have an understanding, man, and the complete compromise that the youth is important and they are the future, and we need to build policies and programs around the youth. A flat tax will get you where you need to be at about 15%. Do away with the IRS and all the tax codes so these kids and these people and these adults can plan their economic lives accordingly. This also, while I'm here, let me tap into this red pill nonsense while I'm here, these social politics. See, with the flat tax, let me explain something to you. As a young man and a young woman, you have the trajectory to plan and map your life out properly, okay, in the economic block of your life. So all this talk about getting money through criminality, now you have an option because you get your money and it's more concise and decisive. Okay, voting age. Kids should be groomed from middle school up into high school to the age of 16 to participate in the voting process. You don't need to raise it to 25. That is kind of absurd and just working backwards. Because 16 years old, let me tell you what you could do. First of all, at 16 years old, you could work and you could pay taxes. That means you contributed to the federal government. That means you sound like an adult to me. When I was 16 and I was working and they was taking taxes out of my check, I was a grown man at that point in time. Also, what happens at 16? 16, a lot of people don't know this, but you could actually be emancipated and get married. You could actually be emancipated at 16, therefore making you an adult already. At 16, what else do you get? You get your learner's permit. You get your license. That means you could operate a vehicle. Obviously, true, some of us start learning how to drive at 13, 12 prior to being 16, which is great. But at the end of the day, you can achieve your license, you can get a learner's permit, you can be on the road and operate a vehicle that comes with a great deal of responsibility like an adult should have. You can work a job and you can get your income taxed as a young 16-year-old person. That sounds adult-like to me, okay? You're halfway through high school, which is the building block for the rest of your life. Most of us who are 16, now we go to the prom and we get to go ahead and got 2 more years of high school. Everybody know who graduated from high school that junior year is one of the most important years of high school, which is the building block for the rest of your life. You talking about 16 years old, you starting to figure out in 11th grade whether you're going to go pro in the NFL, you're going to go pro MLB, if you got a shot at basketball, if you got a shot at the military, if you got a shot at college. 16 years old is not a fucking kid, man. We got to stop this limbo shit. Because when you go out here and you're in the streets, okay, and these kids, they can drive at 16. They're functional at 16. They have dexterity at 16. People don't say this shit when their kids are groomed to be these professional athletes. You got guys that are 14, 15, 16, 17 years old getting treated like adults and with respect and maturity through the athletic block. But when it comes down to the responsibility block of everyday citizenship, all of a sudden, we don't know if a 16 or a 17-year-old should be considered an adult or not. This is getting out of hand and this is getting ridiculous. I don't care if you think that's my baby. Your baby also can be charged as an adult. Your baby that's 16, 17 years old, that when you leave and you don't have them doing anything in the summer, they're out hunting for pussy. These girls are out here needing something to do. These guys need something to do. And that needs to be starting from 14 to 15, transitioning them up into involving themselves in the political process via voting at the age of 16, via driving and getting your goddamn license, being able to be on the road and get from point A to point B and be responsible for a vehicle. You need to get out of high school. That's your junior year of high school. You need to pass all the curriculum and obligations in high school and be preparing yourself for college. Taking the ACT, taking the SAT, taking the ASVAB test. The ASVAB test, you can use your score from when you're 17 to go serve into the military. You could join the military at the age of 17. How is that not an adult? You could join the military at the age of 17. You don't have to wait to 18 to join the military. You could join at 17, and when you complete your graduation in May of said year, you could go ship to boot camp after June. So I don't understand why we're playing this game of babiness. Some of these guys are picked up by these colleges at 16, 17 years old. Before they even graduate, they already have a trajectory to go play in college football around people who are already established. They're going to a major system. At 16, 17 years old, some of these athletes are already committed. Okay? Another program that you could take advantage of when you're 16 and 17 is the dual enrollment. There are actual teenagers that are in the 11th grade that are going to college, getting college credits that will graduate with an associate's degree, and they commute back and forth to college and they take on a full college load. That is ultimate responsibility. That is being responsible. Not to suggest that every person at 16 and 17 has to be emancipated. That's an option. Not saying you have to pay taxes because you might not work. I'm not saying that you gotta join the military if you're 17, but I'm just telling you These are the things that are on the table. And I think we drop the ball between the age of 16 and the age of 18 because we get too confused on when to make these kids step up to the plate to be adults. They can't be your baby all the time. Some of these guys they are physically capable of making things happen. When it comes to athletic trajectory, everybody is hooray for the D lineman that is 17 years old that's getting picked up by Nick Saban in Alabama. And they cool with that. He's an adult then. Everybody pushes him toward that. Or the NBA player that's been playing ball, or the projected NBA player that's been playing ball since 14, and now he's 6'6" in 11th grade, and he's projected to go to the G League or to Florida State and ultimately go to the NBA. Like, come on, man. We can't pick and choose when we want to make these kids responsible. There's a lot of kids out here that's 16, 17 years old that have had rap contracts. That are making $1 million. Bow Wow is an example of that. Chris Cross is an example of that. So for some reason, all of our kids are responsible and sound enough to be exploited through tap dance and rap and sports. But when it comes down to getting them to transition into everyday American life, all of a sudden, they're children again. But through the rap pipeline, through entertainment and sports pipeline, they're ripe for the picking and they're good to go. As soon as they step on the campus, some of these kids, 18, 19 years old, are going to become millionaires thanks to the fact that college pay their college athletes now, rightfully so. So we have to decide and prepare our kids sooner than later because of stuff like this. Guys are coming over here, second generation Americans, and they're trying to change the trajectory on what's good for us in the lineage that we've laid down. These guys are trying to erase indirectly or directly the hard work that our ancestors have put in by trying to raise stuff up and rob us or move the goalposts away from us based on the hard work that we put in a political arena, man. This ain't checkers. This shit is chess. You got a lot of people from Asia coming in over here through the process and then infiltrating politics, trying to implement customs and traditions that they think should be upheld in America. No, it doesn't work like that. That's not how that's going to happen. Okay? That's not what we need to do. This is a call and a wake-up call for us as American citizens and American dads, fathers, mothers, grandfathers to get on our square, because this is the future of politics. The identity politics come with a lot of diverse thinking, which we welcome diversity and identity politics, but it's becoming unhinged. We cannot allow this continue to happen, man. There's no way we should be letting people take away from stuff that we've already built and established and people have died and been lynched for. There's no way this guy should have been allowed to even suggest that. A literary test, basically. And then here's the thing. If we do implement a civics test, it's always some shadiness that come with tests. Then we're going to be having an issue, or is the test legit or not? Because now you're going to politicize voting in the test because it is inherently in the best interest of whoever else wants to run for office to have an interest in the civics test now. Because now you've implemented another play for politicians to dive into and meddle in when it comes to testing. We don't have time for that, man. It needs to just be inherent the way it is. That's what the Constitution is for. 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. All the right to vote. Women, 19th. Okay? Women and men and all people have the right to vote. That's just what it is, and that's how it needs to stay. There's no need to be trying to take away. Now we can add to, which is my proposal, and what I'm adding to the conversation is, of course, in conjunction with the flat tax, is to raise, I say raise in opposition, but to lower. I hate the word lower because it implies that like we're lowering the standard, right? But I don't want to accuse it with, like, I don't want to confuse it with raising. You know what I'm saying? Because it's gonna cause confusion. But I think the voting age should be 16 because you could join the military, because you could drive a vehicle, operate a vehicle, because you're in the prime position of your high school trajectory, because you could join the military at 17, man, and you could also be emancipated at 16 and get married. You also can, it's just, hold on. Hey, give me a second. So what I'm saying to you guys is we got to get a handle on our youth, because we got people over here while we're asleep at the wheel. They're gonna come in and implement these policies that is going to affect our future generation of kids. And I know this is not necessarily a popular, trendy thing to do from a sports channel, but it ties in to sports and the future of the children and the youth and the kids, man. All right? So we shouldn't be listening to that, and that's not a good candidate for anybody who's suggesting that voting age should be raised up to 25 with a civics test. That's what middle school is for. Middle school, they can go over the civics and your civics duties and all of that. So now with this flat tax that I'm suggesting, that's where money should be going. We need to bring vocational programs back into the high school, man. You need to have HVAC skilled technicians. You need to have phlebotomists. You need to have girls and guys with the ability to graduate as brick masons. People to be able to graduate from high school as some type of vocational tech. It depends. You could be plumber. You could be electrician. You could bring back auto shop and auto body to the school with all the tax money that we should accumulate from a 15% flat tax that the government gets to use at a federal and state level to improve the conditions of the infrastructure of all systems, specifically the middle school and high school systems. We have to bring back vocational programs to the high school to give these kids alternatives. You have to get them involved in the voting process. You have to give them a trajectory that makes sense from an economic standpoint. You have to take care of the kids and the future of people economically through a consistent flat tax. You have to get the kids and the youth involved in the voting political process to groom them up to be economically sound through the flat tax, to be politically sound through lowering the voting age. So therefore, when they get to 25, okay, there's no need for a civics test. These are astounding and astonishing young people who have been groomed to vote, who are involved in the political process and who know what they're talking about and know what they're doing, and they're economically sound. Okay, we have to lower the age down to 16. This guy's trying to raise it up to 25. That's backwards. Our kids are smart enough and responsible enough to do it. We allow them to smoke blunts. We allow them to go have sex and nobody don't say that. We talk about all these sexual changes. We put LGBT issues on kids and tell them that they can change their genders. And that is the most private matter that you can have. That is the most mature thing that you can discuss, is your private sexual behaviors. And I have no issues about that. I have no problem with that. Your private practices are your private practices. I just think, and this will be another video, your sexual ideologies is a private practice, and the government have no place in it. And your civil liberties end where mine begin. Therefore, you shouldn't be impeding and projecting your private practices onto people and citizens that don't want that. The government should not be giving out benefits for private practices. And I'm talking about private ideologies. That will be another video. But for now, if we can project that onto the kids and introduce them to different dynamics of sex, okay, before the age of 16, what I'm suggesting is, because again, I will say it, you could be emancipated at 16, you could join the military at 17, you could operate a vehicle at 16 and 17, you're in the twilight prime of your high school career, which at that point in time, you know if you're going to be a world-class athlete, a collegiate athlete, but for some reason, when it comes down to that, we have no problem making our kids adults for the football program. We have no problem making our kids adults for a rap contract. We have no problem making our kids adults when it comes to leisure and pleasure. But when it comes down to saying bring back vocational programming for high schools, auto shop, HVAC, brick masonry, I love the ROTC program. We need to put some type of policing program in there, some type of junior policing program into the high school so that people can be understanding and empathetic to what it is to be policing. And that should be a trajectory for some kids that want to employ that option, just like JROTC. Most of us went to high school. Most guys have a good working relationship with the ROTC unit, and they go into the military, and it works out perfect. I think we need something like that for policing in our communities. We need that for these high school kids so that they can be indoctrinated, or however you choose to say that, or introduced to the art of policing. They need to be able to put on a uniform, get gun training, get the police continual force training to understand what blue lives versus black lives and brown lives and all that when you police it, to reduce these cowards that are infiltrating the police department who don't know anything about anything. We need that, okay, to make policing a thing that is not so foreign to people, so when they encounter police and get pulled over for a traffic violation, it don't turn into a goddamn murder scene. That's a different video. I will do one on personal private practices through the sex movement, and I'm going to tell you where I think that belongs, not to disrespect anybody, but private practice or private practice. And I'm going to do one on policing and the need for policing and the purpose of policing, the true policing, okay? Not this nonsense of people pulling people over and blowing some citizen's brain out because you're scared of a person because of this color of his skin or because of his behavior. See, to avoid all of this and to make this sound, you have to bring an equivalent JROTC police department type thing in, meaning that these kids should have uniform inspections. The federal government should fund. Remember, I already explained, I believe in a flat tax, 15%, no income, no tax return, no income tax return. Government use it. I suspect and I expect that you should be taking care of the roads with this flat tax. That's more than enough money to pay for everything. If you 15% on all income, that is more than enough for the United States to clear its deficit, clear any debts, fix the infrastructure, whether it be the buildings and the political systems and infrastructures at a 15% flat tax rate. We shouldn't have these issues. Bring back vocational programs to the high school. And I suggest, in addition to this vocational program for high school, you need to bring a summer bridge program. Summer bridge program is what? It is a bridge from your behind being in the 8th grade going to high school in the 9th grade. I don't think there should be a summer off. I don't think from 8th grade to 9th grade, no one should be off. I think the government, federal and through the state should have eighth graders, soon as they graduate, go through a summer bridge program that is mandatory to keep them off the streets for the summer. And that doesn't mean keeping them off the streets is a bad thing, but to have their selves get introduced to high school the proper way. Why? Because we're bringing back vocational programs, and these kids need that transition. That cold turkey crap, you graduate from eighth grade, you have a blockbuster summer, you're trying to finger some girls and grab on some behinds and do some sexual things that the media's pushing out there with my coochie pink, my booty hole brown. All that rap stuff is cool and I rock with it. I understand that. But these kids from middle school are consuming this and they're ganging it out. They're getting hands on guns and pistols. They need something to do that is productive. They're too young to technically work, but they need to be in a summer bridge program, bridging them into the introductory of high school, being the ninth grade. Too many people drop out of high school. Too many people get GEDs. There's nothing wrong with GED, but people need to have these high school experiences. People are not having the proper high school experiences. The being able to have tough skin, the ability to be able to learn, read, write, play sports, make friends, enjoy the prom, 11th grade, junior year, the military ball. And when you reinforce that with vocational programming, so now these kids got a lot to look forward to. Auto shop, orchestra, band. It ain't always about fucking football and basketball and sports and rap and trap and hitting the streets and hitting the block and getting some pussy in high school, man. These kids, we gotta figure out what it is that makes an adult. And from 8th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, that transition should be happening. Because, again, if there's a kid that is 16 and 17-year-old, the 16, 17-year-old can join the military and serve their country, they both can operate a motor vehicle and they can enroll in dual enrollment, meaning that they go to college, get an associate's degree and a high school diploma at the same time. They're more than capable. So I'm telling you, man, in my opinion, we need a flat tax. 15% is the number that I land at. The voting age needs to be at 16. 16, you need to be considered an adult because you pay taxes. Again, I told y'all again, I'm not going to keep telling you what the 16s and 17-year-olds can do, but if you go around and you look, you'll be amazed at what some of the 16 and 17-year-olds can do. But you guys understand that when it comes to athletics. You all know that Canelo Alvarez was boxing at 16. We know this. These guys can go box and we can root them on and shit like that. They can go play football. They can commit to D1 colleges, and we so proud. We so excited. We so loving of them. And then send them off at 19 years old to get millions possibly for some of them, get a free education, and go act a fool and have a good time on the campus. The athletes are not the only kids that deserve the adult mentorship and attention. These civilian kids and these kids that are going to be in the workforce need our attention. The military take care of its own. Let me see who this is real quick. All right, so back to the lecture at hand. So, yes, this is a political conversation. And we're going to have some of these. That's what it is, and that's what it ain't. So, at the end of the day, I'm just telling you that my proposal is a flat tax, 15%. The voting age should be 16 because the 16, 17-year-olds can handle that, and they should be legalized adults into transitioning into 18. It is what it is. These are not kids, man. We in a free nation. We in a world of technology. These kids are being exposed to stuff anyway. So why would we do this? Why are we exposing them to all the sexualities and blunts and this and grabbing people by the throat and throat goats and all this kind of shit with sexuality, but we can't expose them and make them responsible as adults to have them go and get a job, go into a vocational program. We get to this is crazy to me. We get to let them do all the rap shit, all the trap shit, and we don't have no problem with that. And join gangs, but they still a baby when they get in trouble and reap the consequences from being over sexualized and over violent and in the streets and exposed to criminality. When they suffer a consequence, then they are babies again. After they don't got in trouble with the law because they listening to these rappers. And I'm not blaming the rappers. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm just saying we cool and cheer them on with dancing, rapping, shaking. Go get some of this. Go have sex with this person. Just strap up with a condom. Get birth control. We can put them on that path, but we can't put them on the path of making them adults and making them get into the political infrastructure for their own benefit. But when it comes down to football and basketball and the thought process that this kid can rescue the family and get millions in college and become an adult, we let him or we let her do whatever it is they want to do. Because we consider them to be more mature than the other kids that are sitting in high school. No, man, that's not fair. That's not right. We can't pick and choose where we want somebody to be a kid and not be a kid. Any young man and woman that could join the United States military after taking the ASVAB test at 17 years old is good in my book to be considered adult. Any 16-year-old, 17-year-old that is taking their behind to college and they're a 10th grader and they're ahead in their classes and they're going down to Georgia State and they're taking college classes in 11th grade and 12th grade and they get their associates and they also graduate from high school, that's an adult to me. Anybody that can work and grind and take care of their mama or their father and help contribute to the family by going to a pizza joint and working during the week to support their family and they can have taxes taken out of their income, that's a goddamn adult, man. A young adult. And we need to start acting as such, because here's the thing. You got guys like Ram that's coming over here trying to undermine the progression of what we need. This is ridiculous. While we rapping and trapping, these guys are stacking and plotting. Okay? No disrespect, but Kamala is from Asia, come from India. Now this guy is coming, like, we got to stop this, man. These people are infiltrating America, rightfully so. I'm not knocking that, but they're usurping and undermining paid for American values. And to combat that is what I am saying is to go ahead and expedite making our children more economically responsible and economically sound and or informed through flat tax and through taking the voting age down to 16 and making them adults at 16 while bringing back vocational programs through high school, plumbing, brick masonry, HVAC, phlebotomist, CNA program, auto body, anything that can be of skilled labor and or use. Because not only that, we have immigrants, no disrespect, but they're usurping the skilled trades, man. They're usurping the skilled trades, and that's not how that need to go. The American kids and the American teenager, the American adult need to be equipped when they get out of high school outside of just being able to put some fucking bars in a hook together and play fucking football. That shit is cool, but we need these guys to be out here and these young women to become white collar, blue collar people that is going to contribute to society from a holistic standpoint. Or what's going to happen is other people are going to see that and feel that we're not utilizing the benefits of America, and they're going to come in and go through the trajectory of America with their custom and their traditions, and they're going to bring that over here, and they're going to try to implement policies that usurp and undermine the conventional values of America. What is those conventional values? We'll talk about the history of this country on another video. I will talk about the history and some politic issues on racism. I will talk about identity politics on another video. I will talk about that. Identity politics to me include skin color, racism, sexism, all of that. We'll talk about it on another video, but we don't need to have foreign people that become citizen, rightfully so, no disrespect, usurping us under the veil of dual consciousness. Because no matter how you look at it, some of these people are looking at the landscape through two veils, through their home country and their customs and traditions that are inherently passed to them, and they're coming over looking at it from a jaded American perspective. There's no way no one should be raising anything from anybody. The voting age shouldn't be 25 paired with a test. It should be 16, and it should be inherent because of all the things that I named. And I'm going to tell you something else, because at the end of the day, I know some people don't want it raised to 18. You know why some people don't want it raised to 18? Because of another trick bag, and that's child support. Now, all due respect for child support, I get it. But that shouldn't be lasting up to that. But I get it. I'm going to talk on that too. You don't want Timmy to be 16 and be considered an adult because, and now let me paint one picture for you. And I'm gonna talk real. No disrespect to nobody, but let's talk about this grassroots politic experience. Either you know or you don't. If you had it easy and great in your life, and you haven't had a family dynamic issues, I respect that. I love that. But some of us have been living life and seen a lot of different dynamics. Some of us come from broken homes. Some of us are exceptions to the rules. Some of us come from not so idealistic families. Everybody ain't got a goddamn daddy and a mama with a white picket fence and some brothers and sisters, and everybody go to college and we got it all paid for. No, some people had to get it out the mud. And here's a muddy scenario. There's kids that are in single parent households, and they need things to do. They need a fighting chance to become an adult. Okay? And making some big 6'2" guy that's 16, 17 years old is staying with his mama who work overnight to provide for him and his would-be little brother and little sister is not the most ideal circumstances or situation for a young man. That is not, because what's going to happen is when mama's not home, he's going to get into things. His little brother is going to see those things that he's getting into, and the cycle is going to continue. These guys, these young 16-year-old boys are not kids, man. They need to enough to lay in your bushes and rob you when you go to church and all that kind of stuff. They need stuff to do, man. If you got a 16-year-old group of guys and they don't have nothing to do and take away just sports and they don't want to ball, because a lot of them can't handle balling. A lot of them can't handle the rules of exercise and sports and the standard that come with sports. Some of them just flat out can't play. Some of them just are not designed to do that. Everybody don't want to go to the military. Okay? They're not built or qualified for that. So what are these kids supposed to do? Just be kids forever and stay with their mama and live with their mama? And these mamas telling these guys that they baby because the mama want to collect child support up until the guy's 18 and then maybe send a guy to college to keep it going in a trick bag and he get all the loans and flunk out of college. No, man. 16 is a grown person. or at least a transition to 18. No, I know y'all want to keep the child support going. I know y'all want to collect tax returns off these kids and shit like that. That is over with, man. I know what the game is. I know if you got 5, 6 kids and you're getting child support and spousal support or just child support, and then you get to file them taxes because it's the progressive system, and then they come back, you got 20, 15, 17 bands off of a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old boy that's staying up in the house, musty all day, running around the neighborhood looking for somebody to daughter to fuck. No, man. No. No. Flat tax this thing out. Ain't no tax return. Child support ends at 16. You got to hold your nuts and get it how you live. Go get your license. Go dual enrollment. Join the military. Get into a vocational program in high school. Now, I wouldn't abolish child support. I wouldn't abolish it. I'm saying I wouldn't make it go how it goes for some of these guys out here. That's crazy. That's a transfer of wealth. I think that's unconstitutional for a man and a woman to have a child. You give all the custody to the woman 80% of the time, 90% of the time, and then this man is on the hook to be financially responsible. Ain't nothing wrong with that because you need to raise your kids. Don't get it twisted. But at a certain point, the kid has to, it becomes to a point where the kid has to acquire skills, man. The kid has to sit up and say, you know what, regardless of my mom and my dad, I got to be a productive human being in society. And if you take this child support nonsense off, okay, and take the voting age down to 16, bring back the vocational skill sets, this give a young man or a young woman opportunity to succeed in an atmosphere of politics, economics, and vocational skill sets. You're in high school, 11th grader, 12th grader. Okay? So I understand why we wouldn't want to lower the age of being an adult to 16, because now you got to prepare them earlier. And now you don't get to reap the benefits of saying that you have a kid in your custody through the child support and income tax returns. I understand the CAPS program, food stamps. I get all that. And if food stamps is that important, then the only thing we got to do with the flat tax is the federal government should give everybody a food stipend. Point blank period, a minimum food stipend. Everybody, to me, should get food stamps. That's another video that I want to talk about. Everybody should be able to eat because it is the responsibility of this government to provide its citizens with food, period. It ain't got nothing to do with poor. We all agree to stay here in these United States. No one should be going hungry. Everybody should be getting a food stamp. That's not a shameful thing. The point of us all agreeing to stay and contribute to the United States is under the assumption and the expectation that the goddamn government can provide basic shit so we don't have to worry about that and we can go to work. And that basic thing is food. When you're not worried about being hungry and you're not worried about being needing to fend for food, your mind can focus on the vocational programs in high school. You can focus on voting. You can focus on working and taking advantage of the flat tax. You can work on going to college. You can work on playing football, baseball, basketball, boxing. When you're not worried about food. And that way, we don't need people exploiting the income tax system, waiting on the tax return. Waiting on child support all the time. No, we gonna take care of that. What we gonna do is with the flat tax, man, keep that shit. Go ahead and give everybody a food stipend. That's fine with me, man. Give me a food stipend. Every kid, every person should be entitled to a food stipend. That way everybody gets to eat. That way we're not doing this transfer of wealth thing all over the place with all these quote unquote fucking supports. People out here paying way too many taxes. That's why people don't like to pay taxes, because it feels like a jug, man. Nobody don't know where the fuck these taxes going at. You see some people, no disrespect, but some of these people getting all these food stamps, and then I can't get none because I make this. Look, man, this is the responsibility of the government to provide us with the basic needs of eating, at least at minimum. Everybody should get a food stamp stipend. I don't care who you is. So we can stop relying on all these supports and not wonder and trying to figure out where's our taxes going through the progressive system. Flat it out, 15%, give it to the government, no tax returns, and we good to go. So this guy Ram, I call him Ram for short, man, raising the age of voting to 25 with a civics test is absolute asinine and completely ridiculous. All right. Next time on politics, man, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cook on identity politics. And I'm gonna talk about the gender war and child support a lot harder as it applies to what we built today: the flat tax, voting age, vocational programs in high school, so that these young kids, young men, young women, these young adults have a opportunity to be successful in America, in the greatest country in the world. All right? That's just simple and plain, real talk. So I know a lot of people won't want none of these policies because, you know, it may interfere with certain things that you do. But everybody should be able to eat, man. No one should be here starving. Everybody should get food stamps. Okay? Man, woman, boy, girl, black, white, I don't care. You should all have a built-in food stipend. All right, man, that's my thoughts on politics. And I'm just not I'm not impressed with Ram. It's political season. We'll be locking that in with next year with the Olympics, and 2024 we will be at the national election. But just my observation, these are my political ideologies, and this is what I think. I'm going to talk about, when you see this, if you don't want to click on it, don't click on it. Do the sports thing, I'm going to do that. But politics, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about racism, identity politics, military, and I'm going to talk about BRIC and all that kind of stuff across the board. And I'm going to have some of my guys come over here who also like to talk politics and talk grown man business. This is grown man business. I'm not looking to be impressive. I'm not looking for views on this. This is just my thoughts that I am putting in a digital journal so that I can pass this on to my kids and a would-be politician in the future that can say, hey, granddad or dad or great-granddad felt this type of way about politics, and it's out here for people to see. This is my position as a citizen. Flat tax, 15%. Voting age, 16. Legal age to be an adult, 16. Vocational programs back into high school. A summer bridge program from 8th grade up into 9th grade. And it's just real, man, because we deserve a better politician. Period. There's no reason what I said. I didn't say anything that disrespected anybody with a flat tax. A flat tax is just, it's a good thing. Voting age, getting our kids involved in politics from the middle school, that's where the civics take place at. 6th, 7th, 8th grade, summer bridge program. That's enough time to prepare you for high school, 9th grade. You still got to go through 9th grade because you're 14, 15. You don't become an adult until the conclusion of your 10th grade year. I know some people turn 16 like in November, October, but you'll be a 10th grader. When you come off that summer, man, going into the 11th grade, which is the most critical year of high school, everybody knows this. This is where you start to lose the kids at, man. Because at 11th grade, man, you got a full schedule. You got to take math, science, literature, and math, literature, science, and a history. U.S. history usually is in algebra 2. You know what I'm saying? These kids are they fall off right here, man. And what keeps them in usually is sports. We can't just keep relying on sports, man. It's not sports' responsibility to raise our kids. The military can only do so much because only so many people qualify for the military in sports. Like 1%, man. And yes, a lot of people go to college. That's an opportunity, but they go to college and they end up going into a situation where they end up accumulating debt and they cannot use these degrees. That's why I'm proposing vocational programs. So at least at minimum, a person, a young adult that graduates from high school has the ability to generate income in addition to going to pursue their education. Nothing I said was offensive, but I do find it offensive that Ram wants to, on the Republican Party side, raise the age to 25 with a civics test. That is insane. And I'll leave you guys with this. I'll be back with another political video. If you like it, man, thumbs up. If you got mature ideas and ideologies, please let me know. I'm open for everything. This is not like me as a boxing fan where I'm going to talk my noise and say I don't like you, I don't like Spence, and I hope he gets stopped. Y'all know me for sports and stuff like that. I'm not talking about football, fantasy football. No, it's not that. This is more serious. So if you're going to come over here, I'm open to everything, but give me real solutions, man, because these politicians are out of hand, man. This shit is crazy. I don't want to live in the fall of Rome. I don't want to be. Let me tell you something in history what I know you don't want to be at. You don't want to be in the empire, okay, when it's falling. You don't want to be in a nation that is at the top and then it spirals down. I don't want to live in that. I wouldn't want to live in Egypt when they was on the decline. Nubia when they was on the decline. Mali when they was on the decline. The Mongols when they was on the decline. China when it was on the decline. Japan when they had the. I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in America and it's a downhill slide and we slide into being a third world country. I don't want to live in that era. I don't. You guys don't want to be in that position. I'm telling you, you don't want to be on the side of history where the country goes down to shit. You don't want to be in that. Military equipment eroding. No one's joining the military. Everybody freaking is all out though because they pussy pink and they booty hole brown. This is ridiculous, man. That's cool for leisure, but we can't make leisure the God and foundation of this nation. Zone 6, I'm out.